Oh, come on. Don't make it weird.
No. Make it weird.
Oh, you want me to make it weird?
Yeah, like really weird.
Okay. I think I could get behind that. I'm Harmony.
And I'm Haley.
And this is
Make It Weird.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to this night's SmackDown.
Monday.
Except it's Wednesday.
It's Harmony. It's Thursday. We're recording this on Thursday.
Yeah, but when it's released, it'll be Wednesday. So just
that's a good point.
pretend.
That's a good point. Okay. Let me just...
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
Coming at you raw.
Get your popcorn. Get ready to watch two people fight each other, but then kiss a bunch afterwards.
Hard and raw.
Exactly.
Why did they name it Raw?
I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, I think they were like, it's manly, but then actually it's, like, super gay sounding.
Sorry, I was just thinking about when I watched that stupid WWE documentary that I don't even remember the name of. I watched like two of them.
I have not.
And it was like this moment where I was watching an episode where it was talking about like 2000 to 2010 and all of the shit that just came from wrestling. Did you know?
It defined what's
this
happening.
movement was from wrestling?
I think we talked about that. I didn't know it either.
I did that all the time.
It's wild.
Are you kidding?
Of course you did that. Of course you did that. So wait, so you're doing an X like this?
Yeah.
What I had seen was like this.
Oh, maybe I'm
suck it.
Well, I never watched wrestling. Maybe I'm doing.
I didn't either. I literally, the only thing I knew about it was from the like stinky little boys in middle school that told me about it.
I like quote unquote dated a kid in middle school who was into wrestling.
A stinky little boy who's into wrestling.
Yeah, his name was John.
Aw, was it your British friend?
No, no, this kid was Filipino.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, I diddled a Filipino.
Do
too.
not take it back.
I dated a Filipino as well.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I was like 11. I don't think it actually counts.
Oh, I was like 17.
Oh.
It definitely counted.
He did try to message me again when I was in high school, being like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I was like,
nah.
No. I'm pretty sure you've been arrested.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, he was not a good kid.
Mine wasn't either. I think he got arrested as well.
Was his name John?
No.
Oh, imagine.
Well, AJ. Is there a John in there?
I don't know.
I don't remember what it stood for.
What does the J stand for?
No fucking clue.
Huh.
Jalapeno. Andrew
Alan Jalapeno.
Alan Jalapeno.
Oh, my Lord.
Who's
going first?
Well, mine is on the shorter side, and it is uplifting.
Oh, mine.
No, it's not uplifting. It's lighthearted.
Okay.
Is yours dark?
Yeah.
I think you should go first.
Do you think I should go first?
I think you should go first.
Okay. You ever heard of a little thing called Project Plowshare?
No, but I thought you were going to say prions.
Oh my god. It might just recycle content.
What would say it again?
Project Plowshare.
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 Plowshare. I
I
certainly have not heard of this.
Perfect.
Great.
So, when the U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan in World War II, the world was honestly the most American move. Patriotic as fuck. Based. The world was shaken by the deadly force of nuclear energy. And of fucking course it was. Over 200,000 people passed away in the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, with many survivors facing leukemia or other forms of cancer over the following years.
Yeah.
Yes. It's actually the studies of people and the population after Nagasaki and Hiroshima. This is horrific. That is the largest amount of people, and I think it was the first really that we had seen of them being exposed to acute, like large amounts of radiation. And it was able to actually show us that being exposed to acute radiation, a lot of it in a very small amount of time, will not give your offspring birth defects.
Wow.
Yep.
Which is such a stigma that everyone believes.
Yeah, no,
it's
one of the things that we, whenever I was going through training, it's one of the things that was like really like plowed into your head was like the chances of genetic effects are basically non-existent.
Well, because it's such a like a stigma in like movies and stuff that you're gonna have a child with 6 legs because you grew up near a nuclear power plant or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like a little fun fact there.
Okay.
So the bombs that were dropped had explosive yields equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT.
That's a lot.
And they did something like 70% of the town. They like destroyed 70% of the town with this explosive force. We really did a fucking number on those guys, dude.
Yeah.
No wonder they surrendered.
Uh-huh.
Glad we didn't do it again. No, but it's true. Like, that's...
But really though.
And also, do you know why leukemia is such a like common side effect for radiation?
No.
So the damage that can be done to cells by radiation is mainly when the radiation interacts with a bit of a strand of DNA. Usually our body is able to repair this damage, but if a cell multiplies and that damage is not repaired, it'll multiply with that defect.
Okay.
The quickest cells in your body to reproduce are those found in your gastrointestinal tract and your blood cells in your bone marrow.
That makes sense.
So if your blood cell is impacted and it starts to reproduce, you're going to have some fucked up blood cells and you're going to have things that could possibly lead to leukemia. Leukemia is actually a very, very rare side effect for radiation exposure. I want to make that super clear too.
Interesting.
But like, I mean, just generally cancer, people are not exposed typically to large amounts of radiation for a really, really long period of time.
Right.
And the people that we see that are exposed to radiation that have bad effects from it are typically like exposed to basically lethal doses.
Oof.
It's like all or nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have a little note here that's like leukemia is super rare. We have only a handful of cases that tie leukemia directly to radiation exposure outside of the bombs dropping, and virtually none tied to radiation exposure that is well within the federal limits for radiation workers in the U.S.
Okay.
The war ends. Our allies are growing increasingly unsure of our power on the world stage.
I don't know why.
The Cold War is on. We're arguing with the Soviet Union, and the world, to us, is divided starkly into 2 groups. Free countries and those damn fucking communists. Spies are out, proxy wars are set to take place, and Europe is in varying states of disrepair. But most importantly, we are in a nuclear arms race, and everyone's getting a little fucking jumpy about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump ahead about 10 years after the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and America kind of needs a PR team. And who better than President Eisenhower and Mr. Sloppenheimer himself...
That's a great name.
Oh, it's so good. Apparently loved the blowjob. All right. He loved him enough that they put him in the movie about him.
Woo!
So Oppenheimer allegedly did actually have influence on this, but ultimately it was the Eisenhower administration behind what they would call Project Candor.
Oppenhauser.
Did I say Oppenhauser?
No, I did.
Okay. So the basics of this, right, we're starting with Project Candor, is that after Eisenhower discovered the USSR had nukes of their own, they kind of sort of got nervous and actually wanted to make sure that the general public in the US understood exactly what that could mean.
Okay.
Around the same time, a 1953 report from the State Department panel of consultants on disarmament recommended that the government be less secret about the same exact topic, about like what nukes actually are.
That's
what we do
actually
with
wild that we're wanting to tell us the truth about them.
If we have like an opponent who has these things too, and they could possibly use it on us, like the public should know and be able to like take care of themselves.
It's just wild that the government agreed to that as well. Yeah. Usually they're cool with just hiding it until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, so Dwight D. Eisenhower began working on Project Candor, and part of this was just a huge movement to make the public more aware and make it seem a little bit more candid.
Okay.
He put together some 6-minute-long radio TV talks entitled, quote, "The Age of Peril." Not scary at all. Thank you, Dwight.
Oh, incredible. And you know that was the time of like radio shows, right? So that was like, all right, every kids gather around the giant radio. Let's listen to The Age of Peril.
Right? And one of the criticisms of this, by the way, was that, quote, naming an operation candid would imply that the government had been less than candid earlier. And we can't have that.
Absolutely
because
not.
Governments are always known for being honest and only ever telling us the truth.
I always believe the government. I never have any questions.
You never
or notes.
should.
Yeah.
They beam this information directly to my brain and I'd never question it.
Yeah.
So a subplot of Project Candor that I was talking about was called Atoms for Peace.
Okay.
And Atoms for Peace, like I said, it's just like a little sub-campaign.
It's just like all the people named Adam in the world, and they were like, we want peace, God damn it.
We're all holding hands. But this was focused on convincing the world that the U.S. was more interested in peace in the nuclear age than war.
Okay.
Just ignore the crazy amount of research that we put into like WMDs and like the billions that we put, into the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
So Atoms for Peace began with a speech by our boy Dwight D. and led into a huge media campaign that was meant to aim for, quote, emotional management of the public.
Okay.
The goal was to balance the growing fear and concern for a nuclear winter with the promise of peaceful uses of nuclear power in the coming future.
Okay.
Nowadays, some historians believe this was actually a campaign targeting our European allies. If we convince other countries that our intentions are not to blow them or others up, maybe, just maybe, we can get them to invest in our nuclear weapons.
Wait, so if we can convince them that we don't want to blow them up, do you think they'll give us money to make the weapons that could potentially blow them up?
Right? Just wait. This is kind of nuts, and I'm going to show you a video of a cow later.
Oh, great. I like how related that sounds.
It's very. And it kind of ties to aliens. So this movement did work to build regulations for the use of nuclear power and regulations for the handling of radioactive materials. Mm-hmm. It worked to provide also Israel and Pakistan with their first nuclear reactors.
Great.
They were built by the company named American Machine and Foundry, a company most commonly known as a major manufacturer of, do you want to take a guess?
No, I won't get it right.
Bowling equipment.
Oh, yeah, that would have definitely not been my guess. Well, the places that I go get my bowling balls is also where I get my nuclear reactor supplies.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
They always have the yellow and magenta signs everywhere. It's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck? Right? It's nuts.
Wild.
So while Eisenhower spoke of peace, his real belief was that the U.S. must stay on the defensive. Mm-hmm. Under his presidency, the nuclear holdings of the U.S. rose from 1,005 nukes to 20,000.
Oh, whoa.
And what are we going to do with all these weapons? We can't just have them sitting around. People will start asking questions.
We don't like that.
And that's where Project Plowshare comes in.
Okay.
So Project Plowshare was organized in June of 1957, and it went on for 20 years, ending in 1977.
Okay.
The general idea of Project Plowshare was to use nuclear bombs for excavation.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually what I use when I have to landscape my front lawn.
Just tiny little nukes. Yeah, so they wanted to use them to carve out the sides of mountains for roads, open up land for farming.
Nuclear bombs for this.
Create canals where we need them, and access underground water reservoirs, that kind of thing.
Okay. And
the name Project Plowshare actually came from a Bible verse. Isaiah 2:4. Mm-hmm. They will beat their swords into plowshares. Okay. So basically turning your weapons into farming.
Well, I think if we base any kind of weaponry off of the Bible, we're safe. We're good to go. No problems. Everyone's going to be safe. God will watch over us.
Society has not changed since 0 BC.
Certainly has not.
0 AD, 0 BC. Does it really matter?
No.
The year of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Always wanted some kind of God similar to Jesus, so yes.
So one of the ideas that was proposed under Project Plowshare was to widen the Panama Canal.
Great.
They wanted to create.
This is giving Let's Buy Greenland vibes.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Don't worry, we'll nuke hurricanes. I know, right? A fucking throwback.
Like a bazooka of a nuke into the ocean. Take care of it.
That's one of the things when there was that huge hurricane that was coming. Trump said we should nuke it.
Yeah, and I think we should stand by that. He's got a point. Jesus Christ. Okay.
So that was one idea. They wanted to sorry, let me finish off this Panama Canal idea real quick.
Okay, sorry.
So they wanted to create a new sea level waterway through Nicaragua named the Panatomic Canal. Right? They're having a great time in the 50s.
I'm going to change all of my usernames to Panatomic.
If your name was Pam, you should make it Pamatomic.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Listeners named Pam, you're Pamatonic now. Another idea was to blast the western slope of California's Sacramento Valley for water transportation reasons. Yep.
Where people live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some other ideas that didn't happen. Using hydrogen bombs, several of them, to create an artificial harbor in Cape Thompson, Alaska. Using 22 nuclear explosions to accommodate the construction of Interstate 40 and a new railway in California.
Oh, we're going to build highways.
Using 520 2-megaton nuclear explosions, one of those, by the way, would be equivalent to 2 million tons of TNT, to carve out room for a canal, the Negev Desert in Israel, as an alternative to the Suez Canal.
Okay.
None of those things happened, fortunately.
None of those are important either.
Well, the Suez Canal at the time was controlled by communists, probably, and we were like, we need an alternative route.
None of those were important, really.
So let's talk about some things that did actually happen.
Okay.
So Project Gnome was the first peaceful nuclear explosion
Okay.
done on December 10th, 1961. It was performed in a salt bed in southeast New Mexico. Their main goal was to generate steam and see how that could be utilized to generate electricity, but they also wanted to see what kind of radioisotopes they could produce.
Okay.
So New Mexico, it's the desert. Nobody gives a shit about New Mexico, so it's fine. Blow it up.
Is this where we're getting into aliens? Because it's New Mexico?
Maybe. A little bit later on. Yeah, it's like a caveat at the very end. I'll talk about it. One of these tests that they ran during Project Gnome was the Sedan test, performed to test the feasibility of using nuclear detonations to move large amounts of rock. Excavation. And boy, did they fucking excavate.
Yeah. If you're going to use something nuclear, I think it'll excavate all right.
They moved 12 million tons of soil.
Are we going to the center of the earth? Like,
no.
What?
It's like, I think I read it was 1,300 feet across. This was the largest human-made crater in the United States.
For why?
Which, hold up, actually, I didn't look this up before when I should have. Largest human-made crater in the United States implies that there is a larger crater human-made somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, I have questions. Why are we making craters?
Well, you gotta test the explosives. You gotta know. Let me just Google really quick. Large.
Thank you.
Yeah. The largest Okay, you know what? This is the AI overview. We're gonna roll with it.
Valid.
The largest man-made crater is the Lac Nagar crater, located in France, near the village of La Boissière. La Boissy.
La Boissy. Boissy? I don't know.
Created during World War I, it was formed by a British mine detonated beneath a German field fortification.
France is not the place I would have put my money on there being a large crater for.
Yeah, me either. Anyway.
Interesting.
Anyway.
AI.
It's probably wrong. And on top of making the largest human-made crater in the United States, they also created 2 huge plumes of radiation that began blowing over adjacent states, leaving bits of fallout in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Illinois.
You'd think we would, like, learn a little bit from our past?
Never.
Like, that is a cause. Or maybe they knew and they didn't care.
I think it's the second one.
Yeah.
A fun little factoid. In 2005, a member of the U.S. House of Representatives referenced the Sedan test while giving congressional testimony on the containment of debris from nuclear testing. Mm-hmm. But the name was incorrectly written as Sudan in the congressional record. The Sudanese government took notice. Quote, "We are taking this issue seriously and with extreme importance." And shortly after, a Chinese news service published an article claiming the Sudanese government blamed the U.S. for rising cancer rates among the population of Sudan. This was not the case.
Do you remember strategery?
No.
George Bush saying it was one of his and strategery.
Oh my
just like
God.
like what?
It's just such a little
Somebody
blunder.
doesn't go over this beforehand with them to be like, this is how you say the big words. Like,
well, they said it right, but somebody did a typo when they were taking it down.
Typo.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
Back to Project Plowshare. Later on, after they decided that they contaminated the Midwest enough with Project Gnome, they moved on to trying to stimulate some natural gas. Which I don't really get. Because, like, did they not have Taco Bell back then?
I was going to say, I could stimulate some natural gas right now.
So, you know what we're going to do?
Yes.
We're going to put the bombs underground, baby. We're going to frack.
Great.
Fracking with nukes. Do you know what fracking is?
I know what fracking is, but with nukes?
With nukes.
This is all very bad. Yeah.
It's okay. So for those of you that didn't know, because I actually couldn't, previous to like 2 days ago, give you the definition of fracking.
I don't think I'd be able to give you the definition, but I remember when all of the shit was going down about how bad it was.
Yeah.
And then of course there was the Native American lands that they were trying to frack on, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's a drilling technique used to extract oils and minerals from deep rock formations. It involves drilling horizontally into the earth and pumping a mix of water, sand, and chemicals into the rocks to release trapped oil or gas. The first test of fracking with nukes was Project Gas Buggy in New Mexico.
Oh, get out of here. That's
Yes.
fake.
It's real.
Oh, that's so good.
And then there was Project Rillison in Colorado, and that one was kind of funny. So these were all like relatively well known in the communities, and people actually protested in Colorado. I found a bunch of articles, contemporary articles from the time, of people talking about they got their buddies together and they went close to the bomb site to try to stop it because they were like, surely the government won't blow this bomb up if we're within blast radius. And there were helicopters around like telling them get the fuck away, trying to shoo these people out. And they blew the bomb up anyway. The people survived. They were fine, but they were like, I have never heard anything louder in my life.
But did they have radiation exposure at that point?
Like, they're fine.
Okay.
Most of it's underground. They're far enough away that like that really isn't a concern. It was just more the like vibrations of the earth.
And they gave a couple warnings, and they were like, "Well, you haven't moved."
They were like, "We spent too much money on this. Bye, guys." And the final test with fracking with nukes was in Rio Blanco. The tests were considered a success. No contamination was sent into the atmosphere to ruin the Midwest. They were able to get some free gas.
The Midwest is fine. It can be ruined.
But
I'm kidding.
Upon further research, they actually realized that the bombs had created tritium, which is a radioactive isotope of hydrogen.
Ooh, okay.
Generally, it's considered pretty safe as it only emits low-energy beta radiation, which can't penetrate skin. But like we talked about during our Radium Girls episode, ingesting radioisotopes is where the real danger lies.
Yep.
From what I had read, tritium levels did drop, but they were hard to get a good read on because a lot of the tritium existed in the form of water, not gas, and they were doing gas samples of this natural gas to test the gas. So it's kind of hard to know for sure what happened there. They did eventually decide the gas was too contaminated to be considered safe for use amongst the general population, and they stopped doing these nuclear fracking tests in 1970, with the third and last one taking place in Colorado and being wholly unsuccessful.
I'm listening to all these things, and I'm like, what did they actually learn? What is taken from any of this?
Nothing.
Like, exactly.
It's a complete failure.
Ugh. Imagine using our money to help people in need.
Right? And
Imagine.
some studies did find that the tritium water did leak out into the surrounding environment, but
Of course it did.
I didn't have time to read through that full, like, impact of that.
Yeah.
It's just the thing that
But
happened.
of course it did. Like,
Yeah, and environmental concerns are ultimately what led to the downfall of the program. Well,
good.
that and the money. By 1974, the 3 adventures in fracking had cost $82 million in that day money, and they were complete failures. None of it was usable. Overall, Project Plowshare burned through $700 million and achieved nothing. The public was growing uncertain and concerned about the literal fallout, and since the, quote, peaceful tests seemed like weapons tests,
Yeah.
it didn't feel like they were actually testing stuff for peaceful reasons.
Yeah. You don't test weapons for peaceful reasons.
Yeah, and so the program was canceled in 1977. The end. Just kidding. The tests for Project Plowshare were only a fraction of the 1,032 confirmed nuclear tests conducted in the U.S., and these tests continued even after Plowshare was canceled. All the way up to 1992, we were able to perform nuclear testing. Since then, the U.S. and over 186 countries have agreed to halt testing for the time being. But that's Project Plowshare.
Wow.
There's a bunch of really crazy stuff whenever you look into nuclear testing, and they did a bunch of tests on nukes underground prior and after this. One of my favorite videos that I stumbled upon while doing research for this, it's called Cow versus Underground Nuclear Test.
I thought you were going to call it Project Cowshare.
That would be incredible. But it's just a little 19-second video. I'm going to turn it around for you, and you can, like, it's just a cow chilling out.
Oh, no. Okay. Cow's just chilling. Oh.
The cow was not harmed. He was fine.
But he got jolted.
He did get jolted.
He
he got
Flew
jostled.
up in the air for a little bit.
So one of the things that I found out while I was reading too is New Mexico, where they were doing all of these like experiments and shit for the Manhattan Project with Oppenheimer, was filled with ranchers. Like it wasn't just a barren wasteland. There were people that lived and existed there.
Right.
And at one point they did tests and then they realized, oh shit, there's this rancher and he's got 300 cows and they might be impacted. So they
don't say.
They bought the cows from him, and they sent 60 of them to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, for further testing in what was a like secret testing facility.
So they were testing them for like
radiation damage. Okay. Yeah, like what could possibly be the effect of being exposed.
I guess better a cow than a person, but still.
But where this ties in with aliens is after this happened, where they, you know, bought the cows and stuff, and we see where the wind blows and it can take plumes of radioactive contamination across the nation. There became these theories, and I've heard, I can't say that they actually happened, all right? I personally have not set my eyes on the sources, but I've heard from people who are intelligent, smart people who I typically generally trust with information. In New Mexico, it was actually a really big thing where they would sneak out onto farmers' lands and take certain organs out of cows to see how they were impacted by the radiation exposure.
Whoa.
Which makes it fucking seem like if you're a farmer and you go out there and your fucking cow's cut up.
Aliens.
Cattle mutilation.
Yes.
And that's around when that starts.
Whoa. Because every fucking alien documentary I watch, they talk about fucking cattle mutilation and how the organs are missing.
Yeah, and it's always specific ones like the liver or the kidney.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
that would be crazy if that was the actual reason.
I didn't do any like actual official digging. I did a lot more research on just the Project Plowshare shit, and then I just thought about that and wanted to throw that in on the end there.
It would make much more sense if that was the cause than aliens, because I don't think that aliens are mutilating cows. I do believe in aliens and like all the other shit, but
they don't need the cows.
No.
They have intergalactic beef regulations. Our cows aren't clean enough.
Just when you think you know how much money we are wasting as a government, and then you hear shit like this. And like, remember our very first episode about Acoustic Kitty? I can't remember how much money that was, but it was a lot of money for a fucking robot cat. Like, oh my God. And once again, imagine if we used our money to help others in need.
We need these bombs, though. We are in need of these bombs. But yeah, that's it. That's my Project Plowshare. I thought that was kind of neat.
I think that's very interesting. I like that because I've never heard of it before by any means. But yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne. I am the host and creator of Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. The reason that I say that I want to keep you paranoid is because I'm one of those 80s kids that grew up watching Oprah, Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, and what did I learn from those shows? Never go to the second location, always trust your gut, and always stay paranoid. On Residue, I will tell you stories like the 1906 tragic love story of Grace Brown that inspired the classic Hollywood film A Place in the Sun. And speaking of Hollywood, I also tell true tales of cursed film sets. And I'm going to add in some stories about mean girls that are so scary even Regina George would run. But one thing always ties all of these stories together, and that is the loved ones that are left behind. Residue. Something that remains after the main part has been gone or taken. Join me on Residue, where I will tell you horrific true tales that will teach you to always keep one eye open. Stay paranoid.
My turn.
Tell me. I'm excited to hear yours. Why are you making a face?
Watch what eggs do to your brain. Take a look at these 2 brain scans. They both look young, strong, and healthy.
I thought that was your episode. Okay. Have I opened up Halo? I'm playing Halo right now. Is this copyrighted?
Are you ready for my story?
Oh my god.
Have you ever wondered what happens to forgotten foreskin of circumcised babies?
No! What are you...
What?
What are you talking about?
What about the foreskin of one very special baby?
Is it Jesus? Oh my god, Jesus' foreskin? Did they stretch it out and they make it into a little crown for the Pope?
Today, I'm going to talk about the Catholic relic, the Holy Prepuce.
Relics are fucking wild.
Relics are fucking wild.
I love relics.
So I started my research off by Googling, are there any Catholic relics of penises?
Yeah, how'd that go?
It turned into this.
How are there
The
though?
Holy Prepuce.
Are there any penises?
Allegedly.
Yeah?
So the Holy Prepuce or the Holy Foreskin. That's right, folks. Today I'm going to tell you about Jesus' foreskin.
I've never wanted to know about anything more. Thank you. I never knew that I wanted to know about this.
Exactly, I didn't either.
Dude, this is incredible.
Before I get started, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the BuzzFeed article I found while doing my research titled 11 Seriously Weird Facts About Jesus' Foreskin by Tom Chivers.
Thank you, Tom Chivers.
And the URL, it says, how many foreskins does one god need?
4. Obviously.
It's like
4.
So one of the facts from that article in particular is worth reading aloud for an important reason. So the question of whether Jesus was circumcised was a major theological question in the Middle Ages,
Why?
right? There were 2 schools of thought on this. Some thinkers said Christ's body must have been whole because that was how God designed it. A quote from David Friedman in his book titled A Mind of Its Own, A Cultural History of the Penis.
Yeah, you know, that's what we need is a fucking history of dicks.
I want to read this book.
You open the book, the first name at the top is my stepdad's, Richard.
I
love you, Rich.
A Mind of Its Own?
Well, because Richard is shortened to Dick.
Oh, I thought you meant... Nope.
That he's a dick?
No, that his penis had a mind of its own.
My stepdad?
I don't know where you were going with
You want to call up Erica right now?
No!
We'll ask her.
Jesus fucking Christ. Friedman says anti-Semitism played a role, and that to medieval minds, circumcision was proof that, quote, the Jew's penis sinned against creation. Therefore, Jesus must have been a cavalier. All right, anyways, that was a fun little part about it. Let's take a little step back and talk very briefly about relics.
Please.
So, relics played an important role in medieval Christianity. The physical remains of saints and holy figures were considered an essential part of faith, offering a powerful connection with heaven. As one 12th century monk wrote, quote, the divine power works through things that have been consecrated by use and contact with the hands of the saints.
Okay.
Relics were venerated and were brought out for multiple purposes, ranging from assisting with healing to being brought before an army to serve as inspiration.
Imagine your fucking captain walks out. He's like, we have a hard battle tomorrow, boys. Behold, the penis.
Everyone touch it and give it a little kiss.
Right on the tip.
Relics could be man-made objects, such as cloaks or shoes, or they could be, as we're talking about, body parts of the saints themselves, like a tooth, a hand, or even a head, which we know, well, maybe you don't. The head of John the Baptist was particularly popular. Apparently there were several of them. Everyone claimed to have a head of John the Baptist.
His head, John the Baptist's head was the best. His head game was off the fucking charts.
Absolutely.
David Bowie would love him.
Absolutely. We should have had David Bowie's head as a relic. I think that's important to have.
I think he would actually love that in like a weird
too,
way.
Yeah. So there was an intense demand by churches to have as many relics as they could. It was basically like the more relics you had, the more popular and cool you were in medieval times. So like the more you had, the more prominent they were. It drew in more worshipers, like almost like tourists, like they were religious tourists. So some churches and monasteries would list hundreds of relics in their collection. The trade in these holy goods would lead to many frauds, thefts, and plundering. The conquest of Constantinople in the Fourth Crusade saw much of the city's relics being taken away to Western Europe. Fun fact. But the most important relics were those associated with Jesus Cristo. Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I didn't know.
I know. Such as the true cross where he died upon, or the mother's milk of Mary. A lot of you may know the famous painting of Mary. We'll have to look it up. But it's in a church, and there's a pope, and then there's almost this like statue of Mary like high up in the cathedral, and she's literally got her tit out, and there is a stream of milk going straight into his mouth. Incredible art.
Oh my god, I love it.
I'm surprised you haven't seen that.
The Catholics are so fucking
wild.
Speaking of like the true cross of Jesus Christ, when I was a child, I was convinced that I was where Jesus walked. And there was a church in our town that had 3 crosses out in front of it.
Oh my god.
And I was so fucking convinced that that's where Jesus was crucified.
Yeah. There was something about, like, I went to several church camps where they had those crosses, and it was just like, oh, I just feel like Jesus was here.
Jesus died here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Like 9 years old.
Oh my god.
Get over yourself. Grow up.
Grow up.
However, since Jesus was said to ascend to heaven with his body, there could not be any of his own bodily remains left, except, perhaps, those that he left behind before he was killed, such as his blood or fingernails, or his foreskin. All right.
Fingernails. Izzy would eat those in a fucking heartbeat.
Do you think she would gain superpowers by eating Jesus's fingernails?
No, I think she would just pee in the house a little bit less.
Yeah. I mean, we would thank Jesus for that if he made her pee less in the house.
That dog loves to eat boogers.
Straight out your nose?
Oh, she tries. No.
Bless her. I love
That
her.
sweet dog.
Oh, man. All right. So, for those who are not Jewish, why are Jews circumcised? We're not Jewish. We don't know.
I'm also not circumcised.
I'm not either.
Oh my god. Twins.
Foreskin battle.
I'll pull one. Let's just stretch it across. We'll tie it into a little bow.
See where this longer. Oh my god. Anyways. So all Jewish boys are required to be... All Jewish boys are required to be Jewish.
Incredible. Thank you. Moving on.
All Jewish boys are required by Jewish religious law to be circumcised on the 8th day following their birth.
Oh.
The Feast of the Circumcision of Christ, still celebrated by many churches around the world, accordingly falls on January 1st. There are like festivals and stuff around the Feast of the Circumcision of Christ. Why are we so obsessed with the skin on a penis having to do with religion?
Why does it matter? Like,
why does it matter?
Who cares?
And I'm going to get into that. And the answer is not great. It doesn't give us a lot of information. So, from Luke 2:21, quote, "And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb." So the reason that...
Wait, so why are we arguing about Jesus being fucking circumcised if it says in the Bible that he was circumcised?
So the popular opinion is that, yes, Jesus was circumcised, but there are people that believe that he should have been, like, he should stay whole.
No, but, like, this is the shit... I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
This is the stuff about religion that, like, really bothers
It's
me.
bullshit.
Like, you're picking and choosing.
You are picking and choosing.
Did they cut the tip of his dick off or not?
Right.
The answer is yes, they did.
Depending on who you talk to.
No!
So, this is the reason men are circumcised. In the book of Genesis, just 17 chapters into the Torah, Abraham receives a strange command from God. Quote, "You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin."
Okay.
There is no reason.
It's just
It is simply, God has said, give me that skin on your penis.
Cut it off for me. Show me that you love me.
It's supposed to be a sign of the eternal covenant between God and Abraham and all of his descendants. Penis skin. Mm-hmm. A classic sign of love.
Sorry, I just was thinking about, like, you talked about, like, the circumcision of little boys, too. Mm-hmm. There's a guy at work. He was a Navy guy, which is how I know him through... Okay. Anyway, he was Christian, and then he became Jewish. Like, he wears the yarmulke. He's very proudly Jewish. And he was talking about one day, I was not part of this conversation. I was just listening because I'm a nosy bitch, about how when he converted to Judaism for his wife, one of the things that they discussed was circumcision. And he was already circumcised.
Oh, okay.
But they went through and they did, like, a whole ritual and ceremony again.
Wow.
Yeah, to, like, symbolically...
surgery. He just...
At this point, I got really nosy, and I was like, so, like, what did they do? And he said that he took his junk out and they took a scalpel and they like cut around.
They like actually
symbolically.
take a little...
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not like a whole circumcision, but like, yeah, they cut his little pee-pee.
Wow.
I don't know if that's standard, but that was what...
That's wild.
I almost said his name. I'm not going to say his name because I don't think he wants the internet knowing about his junk. He told me, though, and I tell everyone everything. So, therefore, he did. Anyway. But I thought that was really...
pretty crazy.
I don't know if that's, like, actually...
I mean, I would assume if they're doing it for him, he's probably not the only one that's had it done. But that's pretty crazy that even though you are circumcised, that you would still need a symbolic gesture of like to doing it again, because it is very rare nowadays that men are not. Like, yeah. All right, so now that we've learned a little bit about relics, a little bit about why God doesn't want us to have foreskins,
we don't even know why. He just he says don't. Cut it off.
So the first reference to the survival of Christ's severed foreskin comes in the second chapter of the apocryphal Arabic infancy gospel, which contains the following story. And when the time of his circumcision was come, namely the 8th day, I don't know where this accent's coming from, on which the law commanded the child to be circumcised, they circumcised him in a cave.
Okay, where else would they do it?
And the old Hebrew woman took the foreskin. Others say she took the navel string. Those are very different if we're talking about umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And preserved it in an alabaster box of old oil and spikenard.
I'm not sure.
And she had a son who was a druggist, to whom she said, "Take heed thou sell not this alabaster box of spikenard ointment, although thou shouldst be offered 300 pence for it." She's saying, like, don't sell it, but, like, it's worth 300 pence.
Who is going to come up to this druggist son and say, sell me that little boy's penis skin?
300 pence. Now this is that alabaster box which Mary the sinner procured, and poured forth the ointment out of it upon the head and feet of our Lord Jesus Christ, and wiped it off with the hairs of her head. I'm sorry, this is so metal and weird, and
it's just so
wild.
strange.
Like, so you got pee-pee skin in a box with oil and whatever the hell spikenard is. And then when Jesus grows up, I guess, apparently they pour that oil onto his head, but then wipe it off with the hairs from Mary's head.
You said onto his head and his feet, right?
Yes, and his feet.
I'll wash his feet with my hair if he please. So says Lady Gaga in her hit song Judas, which is where Christianity was invented. Judas.
I love that song.
God, I love when she starts saying nonsense.
It's so good. Garden of Eden's also a great song.
Oh my god, Garden of Eden kicks ass.
Oh,
Are you
so
kidding?
good. It's so good.
I still, Killa is like my favorite off the fucking album. It's nuts.
I do like Killa, but it's not my favorite one.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is
Shadow of Man is also really good.
Either Vanish Into You or something, and then there's How Bad Do You Want Me? I really like that one.
I hate that.
Oh, get fucked! It's a great song.
It sounds like a Taylor Swift sound.
Maybe that's why I like it.
Sound. I really don't like it. That's actually like my least favorite. It's in the Lady Gaga groups that I'm in, of which there are many. It's consistently voted as the least favorite.
Okay, well just shit on me then.
I'm not shitting on you. I'm shitting on the song.
But I really like it.
That's fine. You can like it.
Thank you.
But you have bad taste.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's a good chance this gets cut out. Now, obviously, Jesus's dried up penis fruit leather was a hot commodity among the churches in medieval times, so everyone wanted to claim that their crusty penis skin was the one and only, and also because every Catholic priest loves a little boy penis.
You should keep that in.
Okay.
You should keep...
I'm sorry.
That's so awful. Harmony.
I'm sorry.
You should... That's great.
Okay. So basically all throughout medieval Europe, everyone's like, no, this is Jesus' foreskin. No, I've got Jesus' foreskin. So there is a bunch of alleged foreskin in all these different churches, and everyone's trying to claim, no, this one is Jesus'
the real
foreskin
one.
in my little box. So by the 11th century, several churches in Europe explained that they all had this holy foreskin. The story usually went something like this. Jesus' mother, Mary, kept the foreskin, along with the umbilical cord, and later gave it to Mary Magdalene. We jump forward several centuries to the time of Charlemagne, where the earliest recorded sighting came on December 25th, 800, when Charlemagne gave it to Pope Leo III when being crowned the emperor. Charlemagne claimed that it had been brought to him by an angel while he prayed at the Holy Sepulchre. Sepulchre? How do you say that? Sepulchre. Although a more prosaic report says it was a wedding gift from the Byzantine Empress Irene.
I'm just imagining her, like, presenting it to him and he puts it on, like, a ring.
A little finger. I mean, it's crusty dusty, like...
It would hold its shape.
It would be fine on there. From there, it went to this church or that city, like, all around, allegedly, including Rome. In 1421, it was even sent to Catherine of Valois in England so that it would bring good fortune and pregnancy to her marriage with Henry V. So, through all this, allegedly at least 31 churches in Europe claim that they have the holy foreskin.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yep. So everybody thinks they've got it. This next part is so wild. So I'm grabbing another gem from this BuzzFeed article. Thank you again. So good. Eating, or at least tasting, the holy foreskins was a relatively common pastime.
Wait, what? No! Ew!
It gets worse! Consuming the flesh of Christ was and remains an important part of the Catholic doctrine. Obviously, like, if you go to church, you're supposed to eat the bread of the body.
Sacrament, whatever the fuck, yeah.
You know, the Catholic Church's position is that the wafer that you get is the Eucharist, likely becoming Jesus' actual flesh after being eaten.
Yeah, that's the magic of Catholicism.
Uh-huh. Eat the wafer. But the holy foreskin had allegedly always been Jesus' flesh and was therefore especially holy, in the same way that the Grail, which had held Jesus' blood as it dripped from him on the cross, was more holy than the Eucharist wine. So Saint Brigitta, a Swedish nun, Brigitta? Brigitta? Yeah, that sounds better. Had a vision in which she ate the foreskin. Quote, so great was the sweetness at the... I'm so sorry, it's so bad. At the swallowing of this membrane that she felt a sweet transformation in all her members and the muscles of her members. The Book of Revelations. More commonly, though, people tasted the alleged holy foreskins to verify that they were real.
What? But that kind of reminds me of, I think I've talked about this before. I'm in, like, some oddities groups, and there was this girl who had a skull that was encased in resin. It was an old, like, medical diagram. Yeah. The resin had cracked open, and she was like, how can I know if this skull is real or not? And somebody in the comments was like, put your tongue to it. If it sticks to the bone, then it's real bone. I was like, why would you do that? Why would you eat the foreskin?
I mean, if you stick your tongue on cardboard, it sticks to that, too.
Can we go back to the foreskin?
Yeah. So, there was an industry, quote, particularly in the medieval period throughout Europe, in the production and veneration of holy relics. So, churches could earn a lot of money from pilgrims who would pay a lot of money to look at these things and touch them and kiss them and everything, blah, blah, blah. Like, they want to come and, like, touch and be near these relics. But we got to make sure the holy foreskin that your church is allegedly saying that you have, that everybody wants to kiss, is the one holy foreskin. So the most accepted test of the veracity of the foreskin was tasting. Apparently...
What does it taste like?
I want to know. Something horrible. It's dried up skin.
Beef jerky. Beef in my jerk till I'm relict.
Exactly. Quote, a properly trained physician chosen by the local priest would taste the shriveled leather in order to determine whether it was wholly or partly human skin. How... It's dried human skin. How are you going to know if it's Jesus's or if it's someone else's?
It's going to taste like a baseball glove.
Are you going to have like a... Is it going to have like a little like tingly... Like a Chipotle
like
thing.
A umami flavor.
Yeah. Soy sauce.
Tomatoes. You know what? If it's a tomato, I'm in.
I like to think personally that the dusty, crusty foreskins that were deemed not to be Jesus's were then donated and used as snacks for Catholic priests.
The original onion rings.
Exactly. Yours is better than mine. I was going to say, if I were alive in medieval times, I would brand them either Pope Chips or Foreskinitos. I like the original onion ring, though. That's much better.
Thank you.
All right, so most of the holy prepuces were lost or destroyed during the Reformation and the French Revolution. In the Italian village of Calcutta, a reliquary containing the supposed holy foreskin was paraded through the streets as recently as 1983.
Wow.
On the Feast of the Circumcision, which I mentioned earlier, which is formally marked by a Roman Catholic Church around the world on January 1st each year. The practice ended, however, when thieves stole the jewel-encrusted case, contents and all. It's like National Treasure.
Catholic edition.
National Foreskin.
Foreskin treasure?
They stole the Declaration of Foreskin.
The Declaration of Independence.
Following this theft, it is unclear whether any of the purported holy prepuces still exist. Forgot about this. In a 1997 television documentary for Channel 4, British journalist Miles Kington traveled to Italy in search of the holy foreskin, but was unable to find any remaining example. On December 22nd, 2013, National Geographic Channel broadcast a documentary starring Farley called The Quest for the Holy Foreskin. And that's everything you need to know about Jesus' foreskin.
Thank you. That's incredible. I've never thought of this. I've never heard of this. Thank you so much for bringing this into my life.
You're so welcome. And to be honest, neither had I until I was like, man, what the fuck am I going to do for a story this week? I just randomly thought about relics and I was like, what do you think the weirdest relic is? Like a body part that's been preserved. What do you think it is? And I was like, well, is there a penis? And so that's the Google search. And then I was like, oh boy, the holy foreskin? Are you kidding me?
I think relics are still just so fucking wild,
They're
man.
wild. They're metal. Like,
yeah. You and I have talked about it. We accidentally ran into a fucking relic.
It was an
locally.
Arm or
It was a arm and hand. It was from here down. It was long.
And it was just so like we were not expecting it.
Oh, I was so taken aback. I was like,
because it was kind of a newer church. Like
it seemed like it. Yeah,
newish, but like
I don't think we were supposed to be in there. The door was unlocked, and we kind of just let ourselves in.
To be fair, I think you can technically walk in any church. I think that's the whole point. Like I think you're allowed to walk in any church.
You could technically walk into any building at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I walk into everyone's house in my neighborhood at least once.
How's that worked out?
Bad.
Oh yeah. Did they come at you with like a broom?
I'm on most wanted. So
you're the reason the neighborhood groups keep popping off.
This fucking girl just walked into my house.
A coyote spotted.
I'm the coyote. So there's a bunch of pictures, paintings obviously,
of the foreskin
that man are so good. There was some weird thing that looked like a picture of like dried foreskin, but the thing is that no one actually knows
of course
when
not.
Or if this thing ever truly existed. So I don't really believe anything I see there, but I'm going to describe a couple of these and then show Haley. So this first one, there is a crowd of people surrounding this baby Jesus and they're holding him. The guy holding him, first of all, everyone in the painting except for the man holding him is looking at baby Jesus.
Okay.
The man holding him is looking straight at you.
Oh, I don't like that.
And then you've got the Pope, like daintily like fiddling his penis, and baby Jesus looks disinterested, like bored.
He just doesn't even care. He's like, this is gonna happen to me. So
Why does he look so like, oh, he's touching my penis again?
Catholic priest,
please stop. And then you've got the classic of a photo of someone like literally with a knife on baby Jesus. He's got the halo around his head and everything.
Oh, wait, you know what? This is like striking back some memories. I'm pretty sure there's a stained glass piece of art in the cloisters of the circumcision of Jesus Christ.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet. And then there's just like another depiction in a different style, but
I like their nipple hats.
Yeah, what are those? They certainly do look like rubber nipples that you'd put on a bottle.
They're nipple hats.
Yeah. So that's the story no one asked for, and that I hope everyone enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, and thank you for yours.
Absolutely. I think yours is a lot funnier than mine.
And it doesn't always have to be funny, but I do like the idea of nuclear bombs and foreskin being in the same episode.
You never expect it. Oh man, let's just rip the band-aid off that one.
Yep. Well, thank you guys for hanging with us.
Yeah, thanks for checking us out.
Yeah. And we hope that you keep on
Making it weird.
Goodbye.
Bye. If you liked our episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Make It Weird Pod. Got something weird you want to share with the world? Send it over to us at makeitweirdpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening to Make It Weird. Bye.